please go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, how you got started, your journey to here, and a little bit about what's going on in your life and your business right now?
Okay. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. My name is Liz, aka Indie Lash Daddy. So I have been in the lash industry for 9 years now. I got my start in Muncie, Indiana. If you know where it is, great. If not, turn yourself. There's nothing fucking going on there. Fell in love with lashes on accident. Honestly, I was supposed to be an accountant, then I was supposed to be an architect, and I dropped out of college, and now I'm a lash artist.
Oh
Had a
gosh.
really rough beginning. Still have a little bit of trial and error to this day, and I pretty much just say that I fail forward. So now I've got an amazing team of lash artists that I help manage. I also have a full-time, the number one academy in the Midwest, which I absolutely love the education realm. And then I also do luxury booth rentals as well. And now I'm doing online courses. So I've just got a little bit of everything, but just continuing to expand. And yeah, I never thought I would be doing this.
Okay, so I want to backpedal a little bit. You said that you were going into accounting and architecture. How did that pause? What made you say this isn't for me? What brought you to the beauty world from there?
Well, if I go all the way back to high school, I come from an Asian background. I'm half Vietnamese, half everything else. I don't know. And my Vietnamese mother was very adamant on me either doing law, medical, or engineering. So if you don't do any one of those routes, you're kind of like not shit in their eyes. So she was like, you need to go to college. I was like, "Okay, let me go to college." So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was so artistic. I love to draw, I love to paint, and the way that I would take notes in high school is I would draw faces over the notes. And then depending on where I was at the face is how I would remember what the person was saying. So I was like 60% dialed into drawing and then 40% paying attention, and that's how I was able to learn. Like I just could not just sit there and like stare at her for, you know,
I've heard that that's, like, really good for ADHD brains, like, there's different tricks and stuff of, like, busying your hands as you're listening to, like, lectures and stuff of, like, how I just think it's so interesting how we stumble into tactics that help with make our brain work and how we need to learn, even when it's not the norm of learning and everything like that, so it's really
Yeah,
cool
I
that
think
you
I
kind of
think I
developed.
accidentally fell into that too, and that's even how I listen to podcasts now. I actually cannot sit down and listen to a podcast. I would have I, like, do my makeup, get ready in the morning, and listen, and then I'm, like, totally dialed in. I'm like, "Oh, that was a good fucking tip. Let me write that
That's
down."
how I am, yes, I love that.
But, yeah, so the reason why I chose accounting is I literally Googled who made the most money out of college. Accounting popped up. I was like, "Perfect. I'm Asian. My mom will go with this. Like, this is gonna be great." So I went to IU Bloomington, moved, and I didn't do anything productive besides party my ass off. I did have a fun time though, but I just really quickly knew that this was not it for me. I had a conversation with my adoptive mother as well, and she was talking about how I needed to do something more creative. So she kind of led me in the route of architecture, which I really, really did enjoy the time that I had. Like, I could see it, but it was a very intense program, and I remember the day I went in, director told me, like, "You need to quit your job because this is not something that people do with a job," and I was like, "Well, I'm the one funding for this, so I have to have my serving job." So I would serve full time and I would open the restaurant 9:30 a.m., close the restaurant. Sometimes close would be like midnight, 12:30, 1 a.m. on the weekends, you know? So then I would have to be at school at 8 a.m. to present this beautiful, elaborate project. So everyone would have all these, the cute cardboard stuff that you see. And then I have this like little shitty like hut to present to the teacher. And I'm like, here is my work. And this is all I had time for because I am tired. So
Yeah.
I did about 2 months of that, dropped out, was just serving. I had an opportunity to get into finance again, so I gave it a shot. I was selling mutual funds and life insurance to men who were 3 times my age. I was 19 at the time. I sold 2 policies ever. It was the hardest 2 sales of my life, and I made $200. I thought I was like a bad bitch. But that's where I
Worked
really
hard for those too.
Yeah, but that's when I learned a lot of really tough skin mental skill sets that I need today.
Yes, that's true. I always feel like I always tell my students and stuff like that and anybody, looking for advice, I just feel like if you're a sponge, you're able to learn anything. And it's so funny because the more and more like entrepreneurs, beauty professionals, anything that I talk to, the more I realize we have these weird like backstories that taught us so much that applies to our current day to day. And being online, working with clients, I just feel like having any sort of customer service sales background makes you so much better and more proficient at your job and just like like you said, like it just rounds you out for setting you up for success because there's so much that we have to deal with, like difficult people, or, at the end of the day, we are technically salespeople, trying to get people booked, trying to get students, trying to
And
whatever, at the end
everything
of the
is
day.
sales and marketing,
Yeah.
and I just feel like people don't understand that. Like, even though I'm in the lash education space, I'm in sales and marketing at the end of the day, you know? And I just feel like people need to I'm trying to bridge the gap between that being such a foreign topic to people. But yeah, I ate shit for 2 years, and that's where I learned, how to accept no. Like, just
Yes.
no, 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 no. And if I got one yes, and I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, and that one yes, like, fuels you for the next.
Yeah. I was just so bad, and I totally get it because I was like, "How am I talking to men with money, and I don't even have money?"
Right? But I think there's also the realm of, like, manifestation or fake it till you make it. There's a rapper, Russ, and I feel like he always talks about how he used to, like, rap about having money and having $1,000,000 and having a big old house and doing all this, and I feel like there's a lot of momentum you can build by just doing the hard work, like, fucking grinding and faking it until you make it, and just being, "No, I look at my lavish lifestyle, look at how wonderful everything is," and it's just like, I rent a house and I don't own a car, or, like, I mean, it doesn't have to be your reality doesn't have to be how you perceive your reality, and I think that's why manifestation has such a big thing, and I think that's why so many successful people came from such humble beginnings, because I feel like they just were like, "This isn't how it's gonna be forever, and I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with this being it now, because I know later it's gonna be all, like, worth it."
Yeah, for me, it was more so fuel because I was talking to people who did have their shit together, and I was like, "Wow, I wanna be that one day. I just know that I'm not there yet, but if I can, like, connect with this person in this moment of time and they buy something from me, then I think I'm one step closer to getting there."
Absolutely. So, as you're kind of doing all of that, when did you go, "Okay, lashes," because that's kind of a big jump. I know you wanted to get into more creative things, but what brought you to actual lashing?
Well, I, was saving my money up to do something for my birthday, and I saw these lash extensions online. I was fascinated because my lashes grow straight and they grow down. So it doesn't matter how much of, like, the unique mascara and stuff, like, you put 5 coats on, like, doesn't matter how many of those I bought, it never worked for me because my lashes would just slowly go down, so I would look like this by the end of the day. And I did the heated curlers, I did everything. So I found these lash extensions. They were, really expensive to me at the time. I think it was like 130, 150 for a full set. It was like the one lady in Muncie, Indiana who was doing lashes back then, and I thought she was going to, like, individually implant them into my skin, and I was like, "I want it. I want
Yep,
it 'cause they
I'll
stay."
have it.
Yeah, I was like, I've never seen anyone with them besides one girl." So I got them done, and I remember sitting there and I was like, "This is a one-time thing. This is way too bougie. I'm not a bougie girl. I am just a college dropout trying to survive off of ramen noodles right now." And she handed me that mirror, and I just became that girl when I
Yeah.
saw myself, and I was like, "This is it." And I fell in love. She convinced me to try to do them. She was like, "You are so artistic and creative. Try this out." And in my head, I saw beauty as a failure because that's what I was taught. So, like, my mom had always said, beauty school is where girls go when they don't know what to do with their life, or they go when they're stay-at-home moms, and that's what they do because they have nothing else better to do. So I was like, I can't do beauty even though I'm so drawn to it. I was always the girl doing everyone's prom makeup. Was always the girl everyone's asking, like, "How do you do this? How do you contour? How do I pick a color?" I was always just like, "Yeah, let me get in there." I loved it. So, yeah, that's how I got started. I was awful. She decided to take me on as, I don't know, an apprentice, I guess you could say, but she just would have me come in a couple times. I would sit there and watch her, and then I she let me practice 15 minutes one day, and that was, like, our class. And then she was like, "Go buy this shitty kit, go practice at home, and then whenever you're good enough, you can work for me." I was like, "Done."
Yeah.
Cool. So I just practiced at home. I lived right off of Gilbert Street in this little house right by a college, university. One of my roommates let me borrow his futon, and then I would just sit on the floor, and then I would use daylight, and I would just lash my friends.
I love that. I feel like most of us in the beauty world have, like, a couch or a futon, a situation that we were practicing on our friends and learning, and I love that. That's so fun. Now, did you get your license? Do you have your license in the beauty world? Would that come later?
It came later. The person She told me I did not need a license, and in Indiana back then you did. So as I was getting more traction, when people were like, "Oh, I want to come back now," I was like, "Oh, this could be like a thing." I was like, I knew I wanted to own a business. I just need to find something I was passionate enough about. And talking to men in their 50s and 60s about life insurance just was not the vibe for me. So when I found lashes, I was like, this is a way to for me to give wearable art to people to love, to appreciate, because I wanted to really paint and draw. That's what I wanted to do so bad. So this was like my way of painting and drawing on someone's face. So that's how I just enjoyed it. But yeah, I did go to SD school and I moved from that college town up to Indianapolis. I didn't know anyone. I had negative $38 in my bank account and I had a 26-foot U-Haul. And I was like, fuck it, we're going to make this work. And I was going to school full time. I was also working full time at a restaurant as well. And then I would lash in my spare time. So it would be after work. So I would lash till 1, 2, 3 a.m. sometimes. 7 months
Oh
of
my
that, I quit my job.
gosh. That's amazing. That's incredible that you were able to build a business out in under a year though. Like not only amazing that you were doing it around the clock basically trying to just, survive and get everything going, but that's a short span to be able to quit your job because I know that some for some of us it doesn't happen that easily. Do you feel like having worked with clients previously, it helped you attain like what was your marketing approach back then when you didn't really have one?
Talk to everybody.
I love
Ask
that.
them.
Yeah.
I just talk to people. So that like, I only got a job so that I could get models in to
Yeah.
practice on. So I got a job at a restaurant. My first day, they're, like, introducing me, whatever, and as soon as the other servers were walking in, I was like, "I gotta talk to her," and, as soon as I get a moment. So when I would introduce myself, I would say, "Hey, my name is Liz. I actually moved here because 'cause I'm doing lashes. I'm going to beauty school, but I would love to give you a free set of lashes, and if you love it, just tell one person." She was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm sold." So I did everyone's lashes in the restaurant industry, and then I would just hang out with these girls. They would introduce me to other girls, and I would literally just talk about what I did over and over and over. And I'd be like, "Hey, I just moved here. I know nobody. I'm actually doing lashes. I'm going to school. I'm opening a business, but I would love to do your lashes for free. If you like it, just tell one person." They either tell me to fuck off or like,
Yeah.
"Yes."
No, it's so true. I feel like there's so many people that are so scared of that, and I talk all the time about how my brow business was built on word of mouth. Like, it was really just people talking about it, and I feel like it's just such an underused thing. Like, is it easy? No, but, like, if you're good at it and you keep at it, it's, like, such a good way to build a clientele. I mean, I feel like people love to talk about things that they love, like,
Yes.
automatically, and so I just feel like it kind of comes easily when you're doing a good job and you're giving them what they're looking for, they're going to tell their friends and family. From that kind of going and did you specialize in any lashes when you were still lashing physically? Did you have anything that you were like focusing on or were you just kind of trying to get the skill down?
When I started, I was just trying to get them on. They look like chicken feet. There was no, and I didn't have a class. I didn't have training. The lady who taught me, she just had me watch her, but I had no idea what I was doing. It took me like weeks to even be able to pick up one lash, and it was a 0.25, which is very heavy, and I could not even pick it up because I couldn't see because my depth perception was so bad.
Yeah.
But as I got going, I did end up specializing, and mine was short mega volume lashes, and I wanted them to look like eyeliner looks, essentially. Very short, very, very dense, very, very full, and then they never looked like you needed to fill.
I love that. That's a skill because I feel like that's like as far as like client issue or concern or whatever that they're like not happy with because I think that for most of us like I've never had lash extensions so I'm a little bit outside of the wheelhouse of knowing about it, but I feel like the number one concern is like them looking raggedy for a little bit when they're like have a lot of shedding happening and looking sparse in areas, but like that's really cool that you weren't ever running into that issue.
Yeah, and of course, I had several times where I had retention issues, but as I built on and as I started taking actual courses, I was like, "Okay, I actually have no idea what I'm doing. I need to go learn." So I had a point in time where I was pretty booked here. I had quit my job. I was, rocking and rolling, lashing out of my house. To me, that was making a lot of money. And then I took an actual course, and I was like very humbled. And then I realized the value of getting more education, and no one here in the Midwest, it is even to this day doing courses for beauty professionals. So I had to go out and travel and save, because people don't want to come to Indianapolis. They want to go to Miami, Chicago, LA, Houston, Dallas, New York, Boston, but they don't ever think, let's just stop right by Indiana and just pop in there and see who's there. So I just had to really, really work hard to be able to put myself in those rooms.
I love that. That's such a good point. Now, you said that you're also educating. What stage did you kind of make the shift from lashing full time to educating, or did you staff first and then start educating? Kind of how did that plan end up working out?
When I was in beauty school, I let it be known I was like the lash girl. I lash, 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 lash. And as soon as I got out of school, the girls there started asking me if I would hire them. And I was like, "Well, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, so I don't know if I can tell you what you should do, but you know what? Come on." So, I kind of accidentally was hiring in that process, but not really because we didn't have like a pay structure or anything. So that just happened on accident. I really started building a team, I would say 3, 4 years in, and that is also about the same time that I started education. Education was about the 4-year, 3, 4-year mark as well.
Okay. That's amazing. So, how many people are you currently staffing at your space?
We actually are onboarding one right now. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 6, 6.
Wow, that's a big step. How do you feel? Because obviously, I feel like when we're in beauty school and even working in restaurant and things like that, we don't ever get, I wouldn't say we don't ever get, but like managing can be a whole new skill to develop and learn. What kind of were tips that you may have for anybody wanting to hire out, or how has that kind of journey been for you, working as an employer with employees?
I think managing a team and managing women's emotions is the hardest thing that I've ever done in business, honestly. Because everyone has all of these podcasts and tips and advice on being a leader, but they don't really talk about what it takes to talk to women on a daily basis who have these like bursts of emotion. So because I don't have that, I really had struggle in the beginning connecting with people. My tip would just be to really understand what the goal is for your business and make sure that you have an ideal artist in mind and hire for only that artist. You cannot hire for potential. You need to hire for who that person is and who they are showing you. So my one of my problems is if I see like a little glimpse of like a little light, I will ignore every red flag because I'm like, "No, she's like I can take this with her and blow this up and she's going to be great and amazing and love me." But that is often how it doesn't work because they have to also want the same thing that you do. So you have to find an artist that correlates with the same goals that you have.
That totally makes sense because I can totally see it being like, "Oh my god, this would be amazing," but the employee needs to work for you and not you building this employee up to be where you need them to be. In my brain, it's supposed to make your life easier, not harder, and so I can totally see trying to grab somebody and being like, "You could do so well if you just did this, this, and that, and I can do this," but it just, like, ends up adding to your plate versus taking things off
It'll
your.
definitely add to your plate. I think that you can get to a spot where, you can offload a lot of things, but it is gonna take time, and I feel like a lot of people are projecting this lifestyle like, "Oh, yeah, have a huge team, do all this, hire a bunch of people," but they're not talking about the process of that, and the process of getting a beginner artist who does not know much about lashes to being competent and, like, very good at executing, there is a time frame. So, it's a lot of hands-on work and hands-on time, and I feel like people jump into hiring a team and they don't understand how much hands-on time that requires.
Oh, absolutely. I always, joke all the time that that's my one big fear is, like, the employees because I know it's such a huge, task, and I just feel I don't know, you get very attached to your clientele and it's so hard to, like, pass them off to, even if they are trained and taught by you and everything, I feel like there's that little inkling of fear of just being like, "Ah, they're not me and how I am," and that's the goal, of course, is to make them as proficient as possible so that it's not a scary thing, but I totally understand that taking time, it makes a lot of sense. So, when you started educating, initiated you wanting to educate, what kind of kicked off, and where did you start when you were educating? Like, what type of class or course or what was it?
So I did not know I wanted to be an educator, but I realized when I was looking for classes that no one was educating here. Every big name, big brand was going to big cities. So I had to travel to these big cities. I was approached by a company who asked me to start training with them. And I did because I was like, I don't, there's a need for it. Maybe this is a way for me to bridge that gap as well. So I flew out to their headquarters, paid a very, very large sum of money to join their education team, and they pretty much just, like, gave me the kit and the manual, and they were like, "See ya." So then I realized, okay, this is not just about, being a part of a specific company or brand. I need to make this happen on my own. But I had taken so many courses before that that I had really seen educators present themselves. And I pretty much took notes of what I really loved. And then I saw things I didn't like as a student. And I was like, I'm not going to do that, or I am going to do that, or I love how she incorporated this. I like how she had a flow here. And I just pretty much took notes. So when I became an educator, I just wanted to bring all of these quality courses and education out there to the Midwest because we are so behind on things. They are still teaching techniques that are 15, 20 years old in the industry, and it's not up to date. And I just want to raise the standard for lash education here and make it, so that you learn the right way the first time. So you're not like me, 3, 4 years in, still trying to figure out how to make a volume fan.
Yes. No, that's amazing, and I feel like I love speaking with other educators because I do feel like at least what I'm seeing in my, little corner of the industry, I do feel like so many of us are starting because we saw a lack. Like there's something missing, something that needed to be fixed, and then of course wanting to push the newer generation forward even better and having them come out of beauty school in a better situation because I think we all have that horror story from beauty school or that scary experience or just the experience of coming out of beauty school and being like, "I have no idea what I'm doing." Even though I do feel like I felt a little inflated when I came out of beauty school. It's like, "I know everything now. I passed my state board." And then you're like, "I don't know anything."
Winging it the whole time. I still wing it sometimes, like, I'm not gonna say I have all of my stuff together. I would like to think in some aspects I do, but there's a lot of areas I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna see if this works, and if it doesn't, we will reevaluate at that point."
Such a great mood mindset for an entrepreneur. I just think that there's so many of us that think once we get this dialed in, once we do that, once we learn this, like everything will come together. And I know I, over the years, had plenty of moments of once I pass this step, it'll be everything will make sense, everything will be clear. And it's just like, no, I truly feel like it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
And it's really levels, because once you reach level 1, it opens level 2, and then you don't know what level 2 has because you've only been at level 1, so then you see level 2 and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I need to learn all these different skills to make sure I get to level 3," and then you get to level 3 and you're like, "Wow, this is also very different from level 1 and 2." So it's like I just think entrepreneurship is a constant game, I guess you could say, of learning over and over and over, and it's okay to fuck up. I think the best people, the most successful people are the ones who aren't afraid to look stupid and fuck up.
Yes. I totally agree. I feel like failure is not necessarily failure. I think it's just a lesson learned and it's all about I think it's all about perception too of just like how are you perceiving the failure? How are you learning from it? And if you are taking it in too heavily, like of course you're not going to be able to get back up. Like you have to be able to have that momentum and I feel like entrepreneurship is a lot about just consistency and momentum. I think a lot of this business stuff, marketing stuff, selling, sales, whatever you want to call it, is all really about just keeping on and keeping pushing forward and just not giving up because there's always going to be a new hurdle. There's always going to be a new problem. There's always going to be something. I think if you're constantly moving the bar, it makes sense that you're running into hurdles and having to kind of, jump and dodge and whatever as you go.
Yeah, I think consistency will definitely beat talent every day.
Yes, I agree with that. So now that you are educating, are you still in the studio working with clients doing lashing? Or are you just managing your team and educating?
I lash 5 clients for funsies.
I love that.
Yeah, so I had one today. She was actually one of my first clients I ever had when I moved to Indianapolis. She's got the smallest little lashes that you will ever see, and everyone thinks she's really hard to lash. So, like, all the clients I kept are one of the hardest people to lash in my opinion, but I love
I
them, and
love
we
that.
are yeah, they are, like, really amazing, solid clients that I've been lashing for years and years and years and years.
Oh, I love that so much. I always say all the time, I'm like, as many moves as I'm making in my business and in my industry, I don't think I could ever, ever fully give up being behind the chair. Like I'm like, I just couldn't do it. I think most of our passion diluted, it comes down to like the hands-on experience that came with learning clients and, working with them. So I love that you're still in there doing your thing with it. Do you travel for your trainings? Are you mostly bringing people to you? Are you like I know you mentioned a little bit about online. What exactly are you teaching and how are you teaching?
So right now I have multiple courses that I teach. I have beginner courses, which is a 6-day program. I have more advanced courses, which is a 1 or 2. I have custom courses where I will do that. These are all in person. I also am a partner with Flashbox LA, so I'm able to teach their courses as well. And then I am able to travel with them and also train and teach whenever they have events, which is pretty cool. I am now also getting into the online space because I have been teaching for a long time and I have beat Indiana to death with the in-person trainings. People are like, "We fucking get it, dude. You train." And I have just been meeting so many people all over the US as I've been traveling who also want this type of education. And I think we're also in a space where after you get through that beginner phase, it is more about the sales, the marketing, the business, what it actually takes to scale and grow a business. So that's why I am moving into online so that they don't have to fly and come to me. I can just come to you.
I love that. Now you said you work with a company. How do you feel how is it working under like partnership with a Lash brand? And then how is it working like for your own education? Was it easier to transition into teaching with a brand? How was it building your own curriculum? Like kind of how did you go about all of that? Cuz I've done both as well, so I'm just curious to hear another perspective.
Yeah, so when I first became an educator, a company had approached me. I used their curriculum, but very, very quickly I realized that was not the curriculum I wanted. So even though I was using their manual, I was totally changing everything around the way that I thought was the most valid. Then I ended up just not using them. I did my own thing. I made my own manual, which is what I still use to this day. And I was just using different brands and products. They approached me because they have heard about me from other people. So we introduced the partnership, and so now I'm able to present them, my students, with their amazing kits, which this was the brand that I absolutely loved when I was on my own. I had switched off from them when I had a team because it just got so expensive ordering wise, so I just had to do something different. But being able to offer that, I was like, "Oh, this is even better," you know? So on their end, I think it's a great partnership because they know that I get in front of a lot of students and they use all these amazing products. And then for me, it's also great because I'm able to provide them with such great quality products. It's not a Amazon kit that I throw together and call it a training kit. It's actual quality stuff that I would use and I do use every day. I'm not going to give you something that I would not use on a client. I
Yeah,
very much go against that.
I agree. I feel like I do see so much of that and I understand trying to cut a corner or, make things cheaper because like you said it is very expensive to build out a pro like actual pro kit and I've done it in my way. I think there's ways that we can make it more affordable, but it is nice to partner with the companies that you do stand behind and then make it more easy for us to create those really, luxe kits that are like copy and paste of what my setup would look like. I feel like that's what I would expect from a training, and I feel like new students need that, but I totally agree with you on not being about the Amazon kids. It drives me bonkers. I'm like, "What are we paying for?" I always feel like it's something that's like, it's like the skincare world of just like, I wouldn't use a mask on you that you could just purchase from Target, like, in a facial. Like, it needs to be professional, it needs to be in that kind of realm. Partnering, I love that more brands are making that option because for a long time, I feel like we only had the option to partner with really, really huge mega brands that have been around for a really long time. And it's really fun to partner with smaller brands that are doing really incredible stuff and just making it more available to our students. Do you have any fun collaborations or partnerships and anything new that's coming up anytime soon?
Well, yes, I'm going to be working with a friend who throws events. So we are going to have an event here. I'm also working with another really amazing educator who's a pro at a very specific technique, and she's going to be doing a training here. So I'm really excited. Another goal of mine as an educator in general is to pretty much bring the platform of the Midwest forward so that these big brands and people do actually come here because we've been able to bring some pretty big people in here already. And I want, people to know, oh my goodness, like Babe Cave, Lash Daddy, like this is where I can get all of the education. Like it's not just her teaching over and over. She's also able to collab and meet people and bring them here. So we do have a couple of fun things coming up later in the year. Collabs, education space. I am with Lashbox when I go to events with them. So that's a fun time as well. I get to work the booth and just like teach people all day.
I love that so much. And then I just wanted to really quickly circle back because I missed something I wanted to ask you about. You mentioned Babe Cave and how you do have employees, but you're also doing luxury booth rentals. What does that look like? What is that kind of format? How did you want to bring that into your, wheelhouse and everything?
I'm such an entrepreneur girly, so I love supporting the entrepreneur girlies, I love both. I wanted a team well, I accidentally got a team in the beginning, but now I have a team because I want the public, people to be able to come to one place and know this is the expectation that I have for my lashes for the service. And I know that I'm going to get it here. For training, same thing. I know I'm going to get a specific result when I go to Liz. And that's why I'm going to go to the Babe Cave because it's a set. That's what the brand is about. It's having this specific set of quality across the board. But I also wanted a place where I could also kind of host other people who are doing other services because I had so many students who also did waxing or nails or hair. So I wanted to bring kind of a one stop shop where we're a little net hub of just quality people who are doing quality stuff. So that's how the booth rental idea was born. And I honestly love all of it. So it's interesting because I just started off as a lash artist and now it's grown into all these things that I never expected.
Absolutely. I think that's one of my favorite parts about the industry is just I remember looking at like even being in beauty school and then being like, here's all the different avenues you can go with your license. And then even beyond that, getting out into the actual world, I was like, wow, it really just doesn't stop. It's such a broad umbrella, which I think any entrepreneurial mind would feel very excited and passionate about. But every year the industry surprises me and there's even more. It's just such a fun industry to be in.
Babe, listen, you are too good to still be turning away threading clients because you don't know how. My hand time threading will literally change your beauty menu and your bank account. I break it down step by step, show you exactly how to make every client obsessed with their brows, and give you a skill that'll keep your schedule full. You don't need to wait another year to feel confident, you just need to start. Links in the show notes. Let's go.
How many people do you currently have renting within your space? How big is your space actually? I don't even think I asked that.
We are actually in the process of moving. So I am renovating a salon right now that we are moving to. I am actually moving the renters tomorrow and we already have leases signed. So we have five of the rooms are going to be filled. Probably tomorrow we will have the next room filled and we'll have one more.
Well, that's a lot. That's amazing. How do you feel the difference is between managing it with employees and managing booth rentals? I know that's kind of newer for you, but how is it feeling already?
The booth rental is the easiest part about the business, honestly, because all you have to do is provide a space, be cool, don't be a dick, stay high, and it's fairly simple because everything is in their control and it's their room, so they get to do what they want in the room, within reason, of course. But it's up to them. They can decorate, they can choose the pricing, they can do whatever. Like it's for the girls who know I want to be on my own. I don't want to be under any umbrella at all, and this is my thing, and I just wanna provide a space for go fly and do your thing.
I love that. It's funny, every time I talk to somebody who has some sort of like booth rental or lease situation where they're working with other business owners, they always say the same thing. Like it's the easiest part of the job, which I love.
So easy, yeah.
Okay, and then we spoke in the DMs before we actually came on here about educating with having a smaller following on Instagram because I do feel like so many people either getting into the industry or being in the industry think that you have to have, 100,000 followers or 50,000 followers to actually move the needle, to actually book not only appointments but students and I don't know, there's this like dream la la land of this massive following equates success and everything being exactly whatever your dream goal is. And we talked about how it's actually not really necessary and how having a smaller audience can push the needle just as far.
Yeah, I think that's something that our industry needs to be more considerate of, like, not putting everyone on pedestals that have high followings, because there's a lot of small pages with small amount of followings doing really big stuff. When I did start going to in-person events and people started following me, obviously no one knows who I was. People still don't know who I am sometimes, but now as I'm going to more events, people are, like, coming up to me saying, "This is crazy that you are teaching this many girls in an area that we've never heard of, that no one ever goes to, and you are doing this stuff, and you've got, like, 1/100th of the amount of followers that I have. And it's not about the posting per se, it's how you connect in your community. And I have that word of mouth going for us as well. We've built a really strong brand through in-person stuff. And then we've got the social media as well, but we've never had a super huge following. And you don't need one to be able to teach well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna be asking next is kind of what advice would you give to somebody with a smaller following, kind of feeling, I don't know, left out or like they're just behind because their following isn't what they think it should be?
Well, for one, followers doesn't equal money. Followers does not equal success. People think that if you have a lot of followers that people are just like rolling in the dough, and a lot of them are not. I've met a lot of influencers in and outside of the beauty space, and when I saw them and how they, actually were, I was like, wow, this is crazy that this is who they put themselves online to be, and in person they're nothing like that at all. So that's when I realized, the power of just being authentic in yourself. So if you do have a small following and you're feeling discouraged, don't feel discouraged, because if you are just trying to educate or get clients in your community, all you need is your community, which is just 50 people. You know what I mean? If you're getting clients, you don't need that much more than 50 people if you're charging a good amount. If you are doing classes, okay, yeah, that might take a little more work, but I was filling classes with under 1,000 followers. And I was just going in person in my network of community and just showing up, introducing myself, letting people know what I do and how I do it, and showing them how. So that's kind of what I want to do now, is showing people that if you do have small accounts and small followings, you can still do big stuff. And this is exactly how. You don't like, you need to stop looking at vanity metrics and just look at how can I be the best self I can be, and how can I provide value to the people that want or are looking at my page.
Love that. That's such great advice. And you're so right. I always talk about the vanity metrics of it all. And social media, I feel like one of the things that we do forget that I would love to just mention is that Instagram, those vanity metrics help Instagram. Like they want certain things. So they're pushing, views and followers because it pushes their narrative, not our narrative. And I think sometimes that gets a little skewed that we're following what Instagram wants versus what we need, and I think that's just something to, like, remember when you go into the content creation world. Um, you recently posted a reel talking about, like, how regular content creators, like, tips, don't work for us as the beauty industry, professional providers and things like that. Uh, what is are some content tips that you could give that are more targeted for us and not towards just generic content creation?
So I think because we're in the beauty space, it's so easy to look at pretty things all the time. And then we are looking at all these picture perfect influencers and content creators, but a lot of those people are creating content for other businesses, not themselves. So they're pushing something that doesn't necessarily align with them, or they're just a part in the equation. But when you are a small business and this is your service, or this is your thing, it's totally different what the goal and the outcomes are. So you don't need to go viral, you need your community. So just providing value is a great way. And I think that people really underestimate the power of personal branding in the most authentic way. And I just did a webinar on this, but showing up on your stories and just telling people what you are doing on a day-to-day basis, but adding a little bit of value or a little bit behind the scenes so they get to know you, I think just says so much more than taking beautiful photos, doing another branding shoot, or, editing all of your clients' pores out of the photos. Like, that's not gonna do much for you, but you showing up, me showing up the other day, walking my dog while he's taking a shit, with my cat also, being walked, like, people love and ate that up, versus if I were to just do a professional photo shoot of the work that I've done, that's not gonna land the same.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. I feel like there is a skew of just, like, what it is. Now, when you say provide value, just for listeners, could you give, like, a few examples of what, like, really good value within content could be?
Sure. So let's say you're posting on your story the fills that you did for the day. Instead of just posting the photos or the boomerangs or the videos, add a little bit of text or add your voice, whatever you're more comfortable with, and just say like, what are you doing, but why? So if you are doing a hybrid full set, why are you doing a hybrid full set and why? And just verbally text, or, with your voice, just describe that. And then that way a client or another viewer can see that and be like, "Oh, I've always seen like everyone's audiences are toddlers. Assume they know absolutely nothing. So everything that we do, we're pros at because we do it every day. But everyone viewing our stuff, they are not pros. Clients have no idea the brands. They don't know what styles. They don't know what tweezers. They don't know the glue that you're using. So if you're showing your glue, you're showing your products, you're showing your space, like why is that something that they would want to see? Like, what does it benefit for them? People love to show their favorite product, but it's like, okay, I have this primer that I love. What does a primer do though for a client perspective? But explain it in layman's terms as if you were talking to like your daughter or just a toddler in general. So
I
short.
love Yes. I think that's also something to mention, like, kind of what you're talking about is, like, making sure that your content creation is targeting the audience that you're looking for. I think there's a lot of us that are a lot of newer SEs that are looking to gain clients, but they're targeting other lash artists or brow artists or whatever. They're talking about
That's
their
fine.
favorite products, some of all these things. It's like client has no idea what they're talking about. Whereas, like what you said, like, why did you do hybrid? But it could be for like a certain eye shape or something like that or whatever the client was looking for, and the client would be like, "Oh, I have that. I would love that. Book this." And
Yep.
I think that's a really
Yep.
big part.
I gave an example in the webinar where I showed like what a full day would look like if you were a lash artist, but then I described each style that I did, but why a client would want to book that. So because mega volume is my thing, I put, mega volume has my heart. And then I also put if you love your lashes to always look full, you never look like you need a fill. Mega volume is going to be your go-to. I love short lashes because they provide a density aspect. They make them look nice and dark. So it's just saying what and why,
Yes.
instead of just, like, posts,
Yeah.
post, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's also just like quality over quantity, don't just like post to post. Make sure that you have like some sort of reasoning for it. Cause I feel there's also the lack issue of you're just like, oh my God, if I don't post, everyone will go away. Like your following's not gonna all unfollow you in one day because you forgot to post or you didn't have something ready. Like I feel like, quality, it makes more sense. The value aspect, like you were saying.
Yeah, my thing is if you're beginning, you do need to push quantity because the more quantity you push, the more you learn and the more feedback you get and the better you'll become at that one thing. So when I first started posting, I fucking sucked. But as I posted more, I was learned, okay, I'm seeing that if I do this or if I show this and say why, this is a little more beneficial. More people are asking me about appointments. So maybe I need to do more of that. But then if you are to a point where you are posting a lot, but it has absolutely 0 value, then yeah, now let's try to still keep that same amount of post up, but now let's switch it so that it does provide a little more meat and potatoes or value to a customer. So say what and why now.
Yes, I love that. That's great advice. Now, do you have any tips for anybody, whether it be content creation or just working with a brand in general, wanting to kind of make that partnership? How do you get in front of that brand? How do you kind of draw their attention? I know that a partnership could be a potential thing that a lot of people would be really interested in.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really love that aspect right now. So if you are wanting to work with the brands, I think one of the best things you can do is prove that you are someone that they would want to work and partner together with. Because if you are, not lashing at a certain level, maybe they won't want to, have you on. So take some courses, like learn more about your craft if you're a beginner. And if you have been lashing for a while and you just really want to get partnered with someone, just there's nothing wrong with asking them. And also go to some in-person events and just introduce yourself to the people who are already affiliated with that company and that brand. And you'll be surprised at how simple making connections can be. So the reason I was even brought up into the Lashbox realm was because I had met so many of the people already working with Lashbox to the point where people kept mentioning Liz and then finally they were like, "Who is this Liz girl? And why is everyone talking about her? So let's meet her." And then we met and then we made the collaboration. So take a bunch of courses, be good at your craft, show up, show why someone would want to be partnered with you, and then go introduce yourself. Go ask, make the ask. It's totally okay.
Yes, I say that all the time. I'm like, you have to shoot your shot because I feel like there's so many aspects of my career personally where I've been like, oh, that would be so cool. And I'm like, why not ask? The worst thing they can say is no
Just no.
or not respond, whatever. But like I think also when you get more comfortable making those asks, like everything comes easier. You start building connections. You have to, the same way that you work with clients, get your name out there. You have to do the same thing for the business opportunities and the communication and the networking. But I agree. I think events are a really fun place where you can just kind of make that initial introductory intro and kind of start that relationship. I mean, it needs to be nourished and everything like that. But I think just getting your foot into the door.
And you don't have to go for the biggest brand either. When you do go to events, there's a lot of really cool smaller brands that you can work with that aren't, maybe as picky as other brands would be, I guess you could say. Oh, just go and start somewhere. I had
Yeah.
a student of mine, she asked me about this other day. She was like, someone asked me to be, affiliated with them. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I should. And I was like, absolutely do it. Because what's the worst that can happen? It's gonna benefit you, it's also gonna benefit them, and this is a great way for you to get started with, affiliate and being partnered with someone else. So I say go for it.
Yeah, and just understanding what an affiliation would feel like. I think that's another thing to get your like, it would almost be scarier to go for the biggest top tier and having no idea what the expectations will be.
Yeah, I think that's what people go for, and I think that's where they're like, "Ah, I don't know where to start," and it's like, you don't have to start there. Start with other brands. You Exactly, yeah. Before I was with Lashbox officially, I had met a lot of people with different brands, and I had all agreed to pretty much give them, my students, a big discount list of all of these different brands that I really love. So I was like, hey, I love this tweezer. I love these lashes. I love this glue. I love, these tools. I love this bed. So if you guys want this, like, this is all the people that I've got, and here you go.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. That's great advice. And speaking of advice, what is the best business or beauty professional, lash, whatever advice that you've gotten in your career?
Oh, that I've gotten? Oh, that's tough. I've had so much good, it just depends on what stage that I'm in.
Yes.
I would say one of the best pieces of advice that I got was actually last year. At the end of the year, I had a really tough, last year beat my ass. This year is still beating my ass. And I called up a friend who has a company in a totally different realm, and he was like, "Liz, do you wanna make money or do you wanna build a business that's sustainable?" And when he asked me that, I was like, wow, I took a step back, and he's like, we all know you know how to make money. He's like, but you need to build something that's going to sustain itself. So get over it and do the hard work that it takes. And I was like,
That's great.
you're fucking right. And I was
I
like,
think
thank
there's
you.
a lot of us that don't think about that differentiation either, because I think as service providers working with clients, it's really easy to see where you can make money. I feel like once you get to that level where you're charging an adequate amount, you're really booking clients and you're just seeing the turnover. And I think most of us have figured out the overhead when it's working with a client, or if you have, I think you can really see it. But that isn't always sustainable when we're dealing with brows or lashes. Like our body has to come into play. How many years am I actually physically going to be able to be booking 8 to 10, your however many clients, it's like your max? How many years is it actually going to be sustainable? And like, what do I do when that runs out? Like, that's clearly not a long term sustainable structure. Maybe it is for some, but I feel like for most it's not. So that's a really good point. Like, are you going to make money for the next few years, or do you want to build something and maybe have a lower year or see some dips or whatever, but like in the long term, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, are we going to have something still? That's really great. I think that's something that not a lot of us think about enough.
Yeah, he just blatantly asked me that. And I was like, wow, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for the call. See ya.
absolutely. Like, I have a lot to think about. Okay. I also saw, I love to stalk my guests before I have them on. And I'm an educator who usually typically teaches one-on-one, and I'm in awe of like your group classes. How do you manage the larger group settings without like missing the target on the actual education or that one-on-one kind of experience that you get from in-person training?
I love big group trainings. I feel like a lot of people I've talked to have said that they feel very overwhelmed, but I love it. Like, I would much rather do a class of like 20 or 30 people than necessarily a class of one sometimes. One, because I love the levels of energy that you get in a group class, but also I have a very specific structure that I teach in a specific order, and I change up the flow based on the class. So I have like, for example, the last class I did, they were very, very, very quick learners and they got it down very, very fast. But I've had some class in the past where they had way more questions. You could tell like they needed a little more visual training. They need a little more demos and they needed to practice a little more. So every class I kind of go based on the vibe. I also have a co-educator because if you are training over a certain amount of students, it is impossible to do it well and get to everyone. So whenever we get to the practice part, I don't sit down. And I think that's why I like the group training because I'm not sitting down often. I'm literally, oh, there's always something to do and there's always a student to check. So I kind of live in chaos already, like, that's my vibe, so I love it because I'm like, "Okay, I gotta get paper towels for her, she needs to get her model checked out, she's got a sticky, she's dropped her tweezer now," and then I'm gonna, like, go kinda like serving, like, it's like, "Okay,
You have that background.
yeah," it's like, "Okay, she needed her drinks filled, she needs a box, I gotta get her check, she needs her check split," and then I go to the back, I get everything out, and then I'm like,
See, what we talk about with that background of your life really come into play later on.
it really is, but in that same moment, it's also my job and my co-educator's job to, 1, recognize that student's learning style, and then when we deliver information to the student, we only talk to her in the style that she learns best in. So, you could talk to a student all day, but if she's someone who she's like a visual, you need to show her. Or if she's someone who's hands-on, you need to literally hold her hand and do it with her. So that's what we do is we recognize that. We make notes on all of the students. I take a ton of notes on my students. I don't know anyone else who does that, but I literally have a whole thing of notes every single class that I update daily so I know who is who and who needs help with what. And then every student gets an individual and specific goal. So we have an overall goal for the class that day, but then each person gets an individual goal because they're all learning at different paces. So maybe the first goal needs to work on her inner corner placement or just getting to the inner corner. So I might have her start doing the inner corner lashes first, just so that she gets over that. Maybe the next girl needs to work on running out of time. So maybe she needs to work to focus on her time management and prioritizing and moving around the eye more often and not just staying in one spot. Maybe the girl next to her, she's using too much glue. So we gotta just work on that part. Maybe the girl next to her isn't using enough. So I think it is a skill. I think lashing is an art, but I think education is also an art. And I think it's an art that I very much love to do. And I've done a lot of research myself and just been a student so many times that I'm like, I really needed this educator to like be there and see me. So I need to be there and see her. So that's how we still give personalized attention. So even though it's a big group class, the results we get are fucking amazing for how long they've been lashing for. What they do in 2 days is more than what I did in 3 years.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's incredible. And I think most of us with I think anybody in education should be a student of some kind or have been a student of some kind for a while because I do think that it just really helps you be a better educator. But I agree. I think that it's a very specific talent and art form of itself. And it sounds like you really have it dialed in. And that's absolutely incredible. I think your students are very lucky. And it's cool to see what you struggled doing for so long you just tighten it up and make it happen in such a short span. And it's really just moving the needle for your clients or your students, I should say. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think summarizing things helps a lot and I did a lot of practice of okay, this is the page or the topic I'm going over. How do I get the information depending on what it is in 5 minutes or less?
Yes.
And not going in circles over and over and over again. It was
I
like,
need to
you
work
need
on
to
that.
just
I'm stretching
deliver
that
it,
part.
deliver, 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 like no fluff, just like what the fuck are you talking about?
No, that's
And so
really
that's
smart.
what I do. So, yeah, my manual is almost all blank, and the reason my manual is blank is because they're not reading it. They're actively listening. They're only listening to what the important stuff is because 'cause I'm not talking about anything else. Then they are going to write it. Then they're going to watch me do it, and then they are going to do it. So now I hit all 4 different types of learning styles, so they're more likely to retain it going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. That's so smart. Okay, I have a few more questions for you before we wrap up. One is what is the biggest lesson you've learned building a brand with a strong personality and voice? Because I feel like you, even having the smaller following online, it's just like it's very you, and I feel like you're very dialed into your thing, and I love that.
People are going to talk about you all the time. People are not going to agree with you, people will not like you, and the more that you do, the more criticism you will get, and you need to just get the fuck over it.
I love that advice so
Like,
much.
yeah, I talked about in the webinar the other day, but if you can't handle the heat, you need to get out of the kitchen. Like, if you can't handle the criticism, you're not meant for big things.
That's great advice. That's really important. And I think it's something that some people think that they can avoid, and it's really just not true. Okay, next. What is your biggest industry ick?
Feel like one of my biggest industry icks is people giving others large platforms to speak or educate in without those people having the track record of them talking about the subject they're teaching.
Ooh, that is huge. I think that's a really big one. There's like misinformation. There's just you're right. I feel like I love that too, just because I feel like as an educator or somebody who's been in the industry, because I've been in the industry for almost 10 years now. And I feel like you see so many of those. I think this kind of circles back to the huge followings equating, thinking that it equates more, putting them on that high pedestal. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like we don't scrutinize almost of just being is what they're saying, does it actually matter? Or do they just have a big following? Or did somebody post it? And I think that it has more to do with it. Like, I just don't, you have to use the critical thinking to be like, is this true? Is this actually something I should care about to learn? Are they coming from truth? Do they have the background? Do they have the real world practice actually, and
Yeah,
they're
yeah. I think the experience, the real life experience is a huge aspect of it. And then being a content creator in an industry is not the same as building a business. So when they start giving business tips, I think that's where it gets weird for the viewers because as the audience, you don't always know what to distinguish what is right and what is wrong.
100%.
So it's kind of like you have to have that, like, dialed in view of, "Is what this person's saying actually relevant to me?" And some people, it's hard to tell that.
Absolutely. It's the same way like I'll get asks as an educator, you get asked questions all the time, right? You start positioning yourself as that expert. And I'll get questions about certain things and I'm like, I'm not who you should be asking. And I think I would love for more educators to be like, no, like here's three other people that could answer that question a lot better. Like, I don't have employees. Why would I answer a question about employees? I don't have booth renters. Like, why would I be the person? Yes, I educate, but I'm not going to teach you something I know nothing about. And I feel like I would love for more people to stand on not I'm an educator, I can teach you anything, and more I'm an educator, I can teach you everything I know and not anything that I don't. And I totally agree with you. I would definitely say that's probably one of my icks as well.
Yeah, just, across the board, yeah, that would be when if you need real life experience before you start teaching others.
100%. And teach what you know. If you could go back and give yourself as a baby, I would say, SD, but you were kind of even pre-SD when you were getting your career started. If you could go back and give advice to yourself, what would it be knowing what you know now?
It would be to not listen to people who are not in the position that you want to be in or have achieved something you want to do. And you are going to outgrow a lot of your circle, and that's okay because
A
you're
big
meant
one.
for something else. And you have to realize that not everyone is going to go the full journey with you. It's sometimes going to be very lonely. So that's too.
Yeah, no, I love that though. That's a really big those are big things that I think we need to remember. And the outgrowing the circle I think is huge. I feel like I would have I would have appreciated that advice back then as well.
Oh my goodness,
Um,
yeah, it still happens, so it's like a constant thing, like, whenever you get to that next level, you will, like, have to leave some people behind, unfortunately, and it doesn't mean that it has to be bad, it just means, like, I accept, whatever is happening, but I am going to go, on this route and this journey, and it's okay that you're going on that path.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a negative thing, but I do think it happens. As somebody who does work with others and has worked with brands and has networked across the community, the beauty community, is there something that you've never been asked that you would love to talk about?
That's a great question. No, I don't really think so, honestly. Well, I guess if it was anything, it would be more of this like mindset stuff. Like, what did it take to do, XYZ? But I feel like I am getting more questions like that since I am doing different types of content that is very more direct than what I used to do. So, yeah.
More mindset.
I get or more just more like the other day I was asked at a beauty school, like, what happens if you burn out? It was just like cutting through the noise, and I was like, "You guys are brand new esties. You should be fucking excited." If you are
Yeah.
talking about burnout, you're not in the right industry,
Oh
so
my
go
god,
do something else
so
now
real.
because you should be a puppy that is just, like, peeing all over the floor just of excitement, ball of energy. If you're already feeling this, I would very strongly suggest you to go do something else.
I agree with you because I don't think I experienced burnout up until like the last couple years. And that was more growing a business and being like, oh my God, I have a lot of hats on. It's weighing me down a bit, but not as a baby Esty. I was like, give me more, give me all of the things. That's a really
Yeah,
great
so
point.
not necessarily mindset stuff, but just, like, where your mental state should be when you are trying to achieve something new. I
Absolutely.
think, I think that's not I wish that would be talked about a little more in our
Well, and
industry, so
follow the
I do love
passion.
when I get those questions.
Yeah, and I think what you're kinda saying too is, like, follow the passion and not the money, because I feel like the beauty industry has a very obvious dollar sign across it that people think it's a way that make a really easy way to make a lot of money, and I think if you're going through beauty school feeling burnt out, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and also your passion, depending on what your overall goal is or becomes, your passion will get you into the industry, but your passion is not gonna carry you all the way through because now that I'm building a business and I'm scaling a business, building a team and all these things, lashing and creating the art is what got me in. But I'm not doing
Exactly,
that
yeah.
every day. So, like, now I'm doing back end stuff. I'm trying to figure out how to fucking code on my computer.
Yes.
I'm, building a website. Like, that's not stuff that I'm passionate about at all, but it is what is required to get to my next level. So, it doesn't necessarily matter if I'm loving what I'm doing at the moment. It's what's gonna get me closer, so I need to focus on that.
Mhm, absolutely, 100%. Now, this is a more random question for you as a lash artist, but I have been asking my guests, if you were to pick a brow icon, who immediately comes to mind? Whether it's a celebrity or somebody in the industry or whatever.
A brow icon. I never think about brows.
I was like, "This is a loaded question for a lash artist."
Think about brows, but I do think of more so the way that brows have changed. So I think of like back in the day where they had like the very structured pointy and like how visually that was, and then we got into like that fluffy brow.
Yeah.
So I feel like the people who are running those trends, that's what's interesting to me about brows because it's such a framing aspect of the face and it's such an important part of the face.
Yeah, it's interesting that even though it is so important in the way that it is, that we can still manipulate it and have it still do its job, but in a different way. That's a great point, I really love that.
Yeah, there's someone on Instagram, but I cannot remember her name, but she's so good at brows, and every time I see her, I'm like, "Wow, that's fire."
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I need to send you her page whenever I find
Yes, you should. I'd love to see it. Well, Liz, it was such a blast chatting with you. This was such a fun episode. I appreciate your insight, your advice, and hearing about your story was really incredible. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you have a great rest of your day. And for my listeners, I will catch you next Thursday. Thank you for listening to Browducation.
Thanks.